Uh, so, Mehdi, how did you start State Bike Company?
Um, so I started with my brother and a friend in 2009. We started selling bikes in 2010, early 2010. So we've been doing this for about 10 years now. And it really started as a side project. We were working on a furniture business before where we were importing and selling furniture. But personally, my brother and I grew up as cycling fans. Like, we're big sports fans. We like football, basketball, baseball, and cycling was just one of those sports, which is pretty unorthodox here in the States, but it was just one of those sports we liked. We were like kind of in middle school, high school age whenever Lance was out there doing his thing and the had the opportunity to go to France like 4 summers in a row and see the final stage of the Tour de France. So I think that left a big impression on us, but I definitely remember, all throughout my childhood spending evenings with my dad and my brother, laying around in the living room, watching the tour and listening to Paul Sherwin and Phil Liggett narrate the Tour de France. Many times I fell asleep during it. It's just like soothing with like really nice scenery.
I still
And
do.
yeah, and we didn't have DVR then, so like you just kind of have to sit there and watch it for 3 hours, and you can't like kind of forward to the final 20K. So I grew up a lifelong cycling fan, and so where we live in 2007, 2008, we started seeing fixed gear bikes get really popular. It's kind of at the beginning of social media too. So a lot of my friends who happen to be photographers, graphic designers, those types of creative people, they seem to adopt fixed gear bikes early on. And whenever I saw them, something just clicked. So I had been introduced to cycling my whole life at like high level cycling, but it was never something I could relate to. It was, where I live, where it's really hot here in Phoenix, guys my dad's age getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, putting on spandex to ride bikes really close to one another. And I knew no one my age that ever touched the bike. I'm that guy, by the way, now. But at that time, when I'm 16, 17, 18 years old, nothing could have been less appealing. But then I'm seeing fixed gear bikes, again, at the end of, the 2000s. And first of all, the bikes are beautiful. Like, everyone's bike is different. They're all customized. There's not logos all over the place. People are either getting conversions of steel bikes from the 70s and 80s and converting them over to fixed gear, or they're buying track frames. And I'm just drawn to it. Like, the people riding them are riding in the streets. Again, as kind of like, I was in my early 20s, kind of a rebellious phase, like even like the danger aspect of brakeless and running red lights and stuff was like, oh, I can get behind this. The videos we were seeing where they look like skate videos, and
Yeah.
I was just all in. I wanted to be a part of it, etc. And just kind of in the process of trying to get a bike for myself, I realized like I can't just like go and buy one of these bikes. Again, I either have to go find a garage sale bike from the 80s and convert it, or I'm going and I'm ordering from a website a track frame like a Bianchi Pista or something, and then I have to like go find somewhere else that has the wheels and somewhere else that has the crank. And by the time I put this all together, I'm in for 15, 16, 1700 bucks, and I don't even know if I'm going to like this at all. So it's something that like we set out to kind of make custom and bikes that looked beautiful and performed well, but they were affordable, and they were kind of like off the shelf. You could go to one spot and get them. And now there's obviously like fixed gear has kind of exploded, especially like all throughout the 2010s. And we're definitely one of the first companies to do that. and a lot of those companies that were there have come and on, but we've kind of had a little bit of longevity, just because I think for a variety of factors. But yeah, that's kind of the origins. And as we grew and we matured as riders, we introduced different lines of bikes for different styles of riding. I think cycling is a rabbit hole, and you can kind of go down that as deep as you want.
You also added
So
making your own bike parts into the mix as well.
totally, yeah. So we wanted to be an authority for our customers and riders. So because many of them were in positions like ourselves where we were kind of new to the sport, of riding and participating ourselves, and we just didn't know who to turn to, where to go. So that's most of our customers historically are people that don't self-identify as cyclists. They're just like, I want a bike, I want a cool bike. And so yeah, we much rather deal with them and guide them through that journey than send them to a big box retailer where they don't care if they're selling you a bike or a blender or a packet of underwear. Like that's kind of where we play in terms of price. We're very similar to big box stores, maybe a little bit more expensive, but the quality and experience and everything that goes into the product is going to be a much better experience for the rider long term, and that's going to essentially ensure that they're going to be using their bikes for many years to come. Like, I'm happy selling everyone bikes, but it would make me sad, like if I sold someone a bike and then I realized that it was in their garage indefinitely, and then one day they sold it. Like, ultimately, like, we want riders out there having a great experience, enjoying their bikes, so that they stick with cycling and the sport grows long term.
Yeah, I think the difference between a lot of single speed bikes that you see around from big box and online, and the difference between yours is yours. You can buy a whole bike, but it still looks custom. It still looks beautiful. It's not just red.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, we kind of have like a saying here, like, we don't put out anything we wouldn't write ourselves. And that's an approach and a motto we've always taken. And so, yeah, that could be from our colorways, it could be from the parts, but also like on the product development side, like if we have an idea for something as cyclists that just simply doesn't exist, like we'll do our best to like go and make it, which is kind of like, I mean, I think you reached out about the 4130 all-road bike. Like that's kind of our approach.
Yeah. Gotta say, Nick has told me that it's been a complete sellout as well.
Yes.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. We released them on Wednesday afternoon, and like I would say they were sold out by Saturday. Sunday we had 2 left, and they sold on Sunday. But yeah, kind of a perfect storm, if you will, in terms of just what's going on with the pandemic and demand being high for bikes. But then also we had like our existing customer base that has been with us for almost 10 years, and they were ready for this product. So yeah, the demand was high. I put up a waiting list Sunday or Monday, and it's Wednesday now, and we have over 400 email signups for the next batch. So I don't imagine. I don't imagine the next batch lasting all that long either.
The culture for a state bike comp seems pretty rad. Was that something that you just wanted from the start?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're not a big company. Just to like throw that out there, we have 12, 13 employees here. Myself and my brother, the other co-founder here, we're here every day. So our culture and our interests and our approach is like very much on everything. I think that, again, we want to put out products and fill a hole where I think traditional bike companies maybe are just operating in a completely different space. Like, there really aren't very many companies that are driven and focusing on riders between the ages of 25 years old and 35 years old. That doesn't mean all of our customers are 25 to 35, but that's very much the main demographic we cater to. That's I'm on the top side of that demographic now. I was on the bottom side when we first started, but most of our employees are right in that range too. So the people who work here, the people who ride our bikes are very much the same people. And I think that's just a much different approach than if you were to walk into some of these companies that have been around for 30, 40, 50 years, who make great products, don't get me wrong, but just the approach is a little bit different.
Yeah. So we've mentioned it. Tell us about the new 4130. It's pretty radical, combining road and gravel into one bike.
Totally, yeah. So I think,
And it can do it
you
all,
know,
right? You could
this,
legitimately do a gravel race, road race, and probably a CX race on it as well.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely our most versatile bike. So to kind of like backtrack a little bit, we dipped our toe into off-road, I want to say like 2015. So we had a really awesome 4130 single speed cross bike. So this was a really awesome aluminum cross bike. We had mounted a 29er that was steel, and we had two different fat bikes, all steel. And
Steel
they
is
were
real,
cool.
right?
Steel is real. They were really cool. They were beautiful and everything, but I think we were a little naive in thinking, single speed is like a one-stop shop for these off-road bikes. So like, we're traditionally a single speed company with fixed gears. That's kind of where we felt comfortable being. And so when we did initially release those off-road bikes 5 years ago, that's kind of the approach we took. But those bikes are good for some, but they're not as versatile, and you're only going to be able to do a very small portion of the type of riding that you can on a geared off-road bike. I think I can argue that like when you're riding in the city, like a single speed is sufficient, but if you're out somewhere, taking on all kinds of mixed terrain, a geared bike is going to be a lot more versatile. So we learned a little bit and we built off of that. Again, we were calling them cross bikes because in 2015, there weren't gravel bikes. I mean, they're kind of the same thing, but that segment has obviously taken off quite a bit as people have realized, riding in patches of grass in a circle is not as fun as like getting out and riding out in the mountains on an off-road. So,
Yeah.
we're happy for that. And yeah, so we have more resources now, and we have a little bit more learning behind us. And so we introduced this line of bikes under our 4130 steel line, which is our most popular line of bikes. We're really known for steel bikes. I personally love the way steel bikes ride in terms of their compliance, their comfort level. And yeah, so the idea was, and our current customer base is really, really familiar with like the hierarchy in our lines between the 4130 and the 6061, which is our aluminum bike line. So this is meant to be an affordable, get you into the door, the same way our 4130 single speed bikes are supposed to be affordable, get you onto the road, and you can then later on mature as a cyclist. As we started designing the bikes, that question came up: is this a 700 bike? Is this a 650 bike? I said, let's do both. Like, we're gonna make it a through axle bike, like for sure. We need it to be standard. We want to future proof it a little bit so you can upgrade the wheels. So let's do both. And then for so many of our customers, again, are brand new to gravel, or they might be even brand new to riding. So how do we create that distinction of what tire size, what wheel size to make both, and then give the customers the most options and most versatility. So when we went into that designing that, we wanted to make sure that our 700 wheels come kind of with smooth tires to kind of signify that is more meant for mixed terrain to pass and more of like a city commuter. And then you can switch over to the 650s, which is more suited, more similar to what people are familiar with as like a mountain bike tire. And they can ride virtually anything. Like the tire is really not going to be a limiting factor in that regard. So that's the approach we wanted to do. But my favorite feature that we're offering is like we're giving people both options right out the gate. So
Yeah,
people can come.
that's pretty amazing. Like, I think it's, what is it, $350 US?
Yeah,
I think.
$350 more.
Yeah, and you get a second set of wheels. You can literally switch out from the 700s to the 650s, and then start riding gravel or go back to riding on the road.
2 bikes in one. And again, it all comes back to like, what did we want? What were we like when I was looking for a gravel bike and considering getting a gravel bike 2 years ago because we didn't have one? What did I wish we had? And like, I could buy a whatever brand and it would be with one or the other, but then it's like on me to go buy the wheels from somewhere, go buy a second set of rotors from somewhere else, go find the cassette and make sure it's all dialed in. Like, we want to make it as easy and cycling is complicated, especially for new riders, and we wanted to make it as easy as possible. So when a customer comes to our website and they opt to get both wheels for that $350 extra, they're getting a second set of wheels, tires, tubes, rotors, and cassettes. Everything you need to literally just remove that through axle, put on the new one, and 5 minutes or less, you're out the door switching back and forth. Ultimately, any amount of time you spend fiddling with your bike is time that you're not riding. So I want to make it as easy as possible for people to go back and forth and have 2 bikes in one. Many of our customers live in inside city environments where they're in a studio apartment, they're riding to work. Like, they don't have room for 2 bikes. So this is like really like great. And we're all, I want to sell lots of bikes. Trust me, I want to sell as many bikes as possible. But, I think as someone who's environmentally conscious also, like, if I can sell less bikes but give more versatility with this one product, like, it's just curbs a little bit of that consumerism that we all fall into.
Yeah, part of the new bike and being able to swap out wheels is also using a larger fork as well. So you can either get, I think you can still get the chrome fork, or you can get the carbon race fork, which is a bit wider. Is that right?
So the carbon fork is yet to be released. It is coming. So you may have seen it in the press release, but that is going to be an option pretty soon. And with that, we're actually going to have 2 different carbon forks. So the first one, so with it being a steel off-road bike, make no mistake, it's not a lightweight bike. It's about 25 pounds. It's not bad. I actually like the way it handles, but it's not a light bike.
It's about 14, 15 kilos for us metricers, I think.
Yeah, maybe about 12 and a half to 13, I would say. Yeah, about 12 and a half, 13. But
it's still not bad for a steel bike.
It's not terrible. No, it's not terrible. It's a good level of steel, but it's not terrible. But there are some people that would like to have a carbon fork, whether it's aesthetics, whether it's performance, whether it's the weight. And so we're going to be offering a fork. Again, like, we offered that stock steel fork with a ton of eyelets and a ton of mounting options. I'm someone who I like to go on my ride and I like to shower. I'm never going to bike pack. I'm never going to tour. So to me, I don't need them. So for me, I would upgrade to the carbon race fork that has a little less tire clearance, but it's smooth, it's sleek, it's aerodynamic, and it makes the bike look great. That's my choice. Okay, so we have that version. And then we're going to have a second one that we're calling the monster fork That's a
Monster
carbon.
fork.
Yeah, it is a carbon fork as well. It's going to have the larger tire clearance, so you can still run those 2.1 tires on the 650 wheel. And it's going to have all those frame mounts. So even though you're upgrading to a carbon performance, you're not giving up any of that functionality that comes with the steel. So we're going to have two carbon fork options that are yet to be released. They're right around the corner, that I think will just even broaden the appeal of this bike that's already been like a smash hit, but this gives, I guess, even more versatility and customization. So someone's going to be able to come to our site. They're going to get it with the wheels, exact wheels they want, the exact fork they want. I would like to say the exact color they want, but we only have two, but there's still two really good colors.
What colors are they?
We have one that's like a tan and with orange accents. So it's
I'll
called
put photos up, but tell everyone.
Yeah. So Noran tan, it's tan with like orange accents, and then we have a gray and black combo. So we didn't want to make just the black bike. That's a little bit too boring. We made a gray bike. So yeah, both are really cool. Frankly, if you're on our website and you're looking at the outdoor photos, particularly the ones where we were riding around in the dirt, you will start to notice that the pictures start to kind of look like this. So once the bike gets dirty, the tan and the gray start to look pretty similar once there's dirt on them. So you can't really go wrong with the color choice. I think they're both really awesome. But again, you come to our website, you can pick it with the wheels you want. If you don't want both, if you know, for example, you're never going to do one style of riding or the other, you can get it with the fork that you want. We just wanted to make this like a real customizable bike, but at the end of the day, it's coming with a really, really attractive price tag.
Yeah, I think is it $1,500? It's about $1,500 total for the bike and then the two wheel sets on, if you include the two wheel sets. Is that right?
That would be with the carbon fork. No, so the retail price is $799 US, and then $349 for the upgrade. So you're at like, I think it's $1149.
Yeah.
$1149, and then if if you're basically to select every option, you're out the door still with two wheel sets for like around $1,500.
Yeah,
which is pretty
Australian,
crazy.
that's about $1,800 I think at the moment. Which is it's outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. At the end of the day, we want to get as many riders on our bikes as possible and make things affordable. There's so many barriers to entry in our sport, whether it's know-how or people, being intimidated by whatever culture is going on, or even just road safety. There's just so many reasons for people not to ride a bike. And I don't want price to really be a part of that. I always say that our bikes need to be attractive, but also affordable. There's plenty of affordable bikes on the market. You can go into any sporting goods shop, go on eBay, go on Amazon, Walmart, Target. We all know the sites. There's plenty of affordable bikes. There's plenty of them, but there's really nothing that really inspires you or makes you it just doesn't hit you in your gut to make you want to go ride. And if something can be affordable, but if it's not attractive, at the end of the day, that's not really doing anything to grow our industry and grow our market. So it's affordable and attractive. Yeah, go ahead.
I think you you hit the nail on the head saying you want to be inspired. I like to look at bikes, and even my own bikes, I ride bikes that I like to be inspired by. So I look at it and go, it's a really nice bike. I want to go ride that bike.
Totally.
That's important for me. And I think a lot of my friends are the same way. And we don't necessarily go in and buy bikes that everyone else does.
Right.
We want to be inspired. We want to look at them and go, that's a beautiful bike. And I think more consumers are certainly directing themselves that way as well. They want to look at their bike and go, oh, that's a really nice bike. And they also want other people to look at their bikes and go, oh, that's a really nice bike. Tell me about your bike.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that harkens back to what I was saying earlier with like what initially drew me to fixed gear bikes. Like it was the aesthetics. Like I would see like beautiful pictures of all these people I knew with these bikes, and I was just like, I like have to get one. It was something that was like a gut, very emotional experience when I saw it, and I was like, I have to have this. Like I don't know what I'm doing on a fixed gear bike. Like I haven't ridden a bike around since middle school, but like for whatever reason, like I need one of these. And I think that is the way that we do expand the sport, and that's the way we expand just cycling in general, even if it's not sport related. If it's commuting, it's just like you have to make it attractive to people ultimately. So I use an analogy that, and I'm pretty in tune with the trends in cycling, obviously, and what companies that are doing at $5,000 price point, the $10,000 price point. And I mean, there's attractive bikes at that price point. There's bikes that I am kind of like indifferent about at that price point too. Just because something's expensive doesn't mean it's gonna get that gut reaction at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at our company as something like similar to, like, if you're using an analogy with clothing, like something like Zara, where they're taking, or H&M, where they're taking really what the high-end brands are doing that everyone likes and everyone knows they're attractive, but we're trying to distill it down to where it's affordable and accessible, but still stylish. Yeah. So it's not a perfect analogy, but I think that's like a good way to explain it to people. Like we're trying to do what high-end boutique brands are doing, but make it essentially available to everyone.
I think so. What makes Single Speed and State Bike Company unique at the same time is that with your bikes, they're aesthetically pleasing, and they're aesthetically pleasing, but they also work at the same time. There are
absolutely,
and you can buy single speed bikes, and there are a lot of them around. But if you remember 10 years ago, single speed bikes, as we were saying earlier, a lot of them were all customized parts. You'd go buy one part from over here, and you'd end up with this beautiful looking bike. And you've managed to put all of that into one company and still deliver a customizable looking, a beautiful customized bike, which is mainstream at the same time, because we can go to your website and buy it without having to go buy from 7 different sites.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think we are always kind of trying to balance that, taking that balance with aesthetics and quality and price. These are things that we're always juggling, and we just have kind of a keen sense on how to balance them. And at the end of the day, like I said, like my passion for the sport is like really deep rooted, like as a child. And we're all writers here ourselves. Like I feel like some companies are either one way or another. They're like performance, and like kind of like that emotional attachment is lacking a lot of the times. Or on the flip side, especially like whenever fixed gears were like kind of at their peak in 2014, 2015, there are people that were only focused on aesthetics. A lot of companies that raised money, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to start up bike companies, but they were all just like marketing people and graphic designers that, they can make a cool looking bike, but when you put it together and you rode it, it was a piece of junk. So I think that's one of the reasons we've had longevity. Ultimately, you're only going to go as far as the quality of your product. And us being around for 10 years now, like I think it just goes to show that our bikes look good, but the quality backs it up, and we've been able to grow because so many of our customers have had a good experience, and they come back and, you know, they were riding a fixie for 5 years, and now they're riding the all-road bike, or they're riding our road bike, and they tell their friends about it. So, you know, we've been fortunate that we've been able to balance, you know, all those factors and create products that our audience enjoys.
Mm. And you're staying ahead of the curve with the all road. There are you've released the 4130 all road, and I think in the past week I've seen 2 other all road cross gravel bikes announced, not released, but announced. But there's, I think there's going to be a curve towards people wanting something that they can do everything on. They don't want to have to come home and swap over bikes. And I think that way you're staying ahead of the curve, but you're also giving something to people that may not necessarily have a bike at the moment either.
Yeah. So, I mean, something really interesting that we're seeing with the pandemic that's going on is there's a whole array of cyclists or riders that don't necessarily consider themselves cyclists are wanting to get into bikes. And these are people, again, that maybe haven't touched a bike in 5 to 10 years even, but, you know, they don't want to take the train to work, for example, and be exposed, or maybe they're working from home, so they're not spending an hour in the car every day, so they have more time, and they don't want to go to the gym, so they have more time to ride. And these new customers that are emerging from this, like, they're not like you and I that have a lot of cycling experience. So they might see our fixed gear bikes and they love the look, they love the aesthetic, they love the price, obviously, but they look at the tires and they've never ridden a bike with 25C tires before. So they're just like, no, like, I need something with big tires, because I rode them. Like in the US, everyone just buys like mountain bikes from like Walmart whenever they're kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, I rode a bike, you know, that had these big tires. So again, like, this bike like appeals to, this would be a bike like I would like recommend for someone like my father-in-law, who isn't a rider, but he wants to ride around the neighborhood, and you know, instead of buying a hybrid, buy one of these. Like, it is, I mean, it does all the same things as a hybrid. It's just like a little bit more, I think it has a little bit more functionality, and it's definitely more modern in terms of components, and a lot more upgradable than a hybrid. So like,
It's
this is
a hell
like
of a lot more
essentially
fun than a hybrid.
Oh, definitely. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's not all that different than a hybrid. Like, I'm not trying to sell our bike short, but like, for that use, like, it checks all those boxes, and it's priced similarly. It's like if you just walked into the bike shop at the end of the block and tried to look at a hybrid from one of those brands that has, you know, maybe an outdated group set on it with a triple chain ring, like, still you're still gonna pay about $500, $600, $700. So this, like, even for that customer, this bike appeals, which is crazy. And then you can have like your most avid cyclists just want this bike. Bike messengers who are riding fixed gear bikes, like, they will even like adapt this bike because it's just so solid. And if you live somewhere, not in Arizona, but if you live somewhere that has terrible road conditions and exactly, San Francisco with potholes and uneven pavement, like, this is going to make that workday go by so much faster with the tires absorbing so much of the inconsistency in the road. You can convert it to tubeless, so if you do get a thorn in your tire, you're not wasting 20 minutes of your precious time changing out that wheel. So I mean, like, I have yet to see someone who doesn't like this bike. Maybe triathletes, maybe they're like a different breed.
Controversial.
Yeah, very controversial. Maybe triathletes won't like this bike. I don't know. But I'm just trying to think of like what type of person's not going to like this. I mean, I think it's just a bike that puts a smile on your face. I mean, even just like kind of anecdotally, like my dad's in his mid 60s, and he rides, and he has a bunch of buddies that ride, and they all have like nice carbon road bikes, but they're seeing what's happening in gravel, and they want to start. Like, this is a really good starting point to like, I've never ridden gravel before. Let me spend $800 and see if I like gravel before I go and buy that beautiful 3T or whatever is a cool gravel bike that day. I mean, you probably won't win dirty cans on this bike, but you could probably put up a pretty freaking good time still on it and have a good time too.
Just finishing dirty cans is an achievement.
You could finish dirty cans on this bike for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what's next for State Bike Company? Is there going to be a successor to the All Road?
Well, not a successor. So this one's going to be around for a while, but there will be an additional one. So like I mentioned earlier, people are really familiar with our hierarchy of bikes. So we start with our core line, which is kind of like our bargain focused fixed gear. And then we have our 4130 steel, which is like a more of an elevated steel line, which of course this all-road bike falls into that line. But then the next level up is now we're looking at carbon and aluminum with carbon forks, which is going to be our 6061 series. And so our next bike is going to be the 6061 all-road bike. So we have the 4130 all-road, and then we're going to have the 6061 all-road bike, and that's going to be very similar in the whole design approach with the versatility of the wheels, but it's going to be geared a little bit more towards that person that doesn't want to ride 20 miles a day. Maybe they want to ride 50, 60, 70, 80 miles in a day, and they're trading for that dirty Kansas. So it's going to be aluminum 6061 tubing, carbon fiber fork. The options that we actually previously discussed are going to be more of a standard option versus an upgrade on that bike. But the wheel sets, same deal. And the geometry is going to be more geared towards going fast versus like comfort. Mm-hmm. But that will be the next kind of all-road product that we're really excited to offer. So a little bit of a different customer. The bikes kind of do the same thing in general, but one is more of like is your casual laid back guy, and the other customer is maybe the guy that just wants to hammer always.
I'll be honest with you, Mehdi. After hearing about the all road, I might be waiting a little while to have a test, as we've already discussed, but certainly looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited to get them out. Like I said, the demand is really high, but we already have several hundred more in production, and we're putting in another order in 2 days. So there's definitely going to be more to come. And then now that we have the product out there, we can kind of take our state bicycle styling approach too and start elaborating and freestyling a little bit with it in terms of collaboration. So we have some collaboration special edition colorways that will also be released in the line. So definitely this is not like a one and done for us. This is, I would imagine it's going to stick around for many years to come.
Certainly going to be looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with. You always seem to come up with your own marketing idea for whatever line that you're producing in your own very unique way.
Yeah. That's the fun part. Once the product is in, then doing things like this and talking to people about the bikes and promoting it and putting a spotlight on it, like that's something I like to do.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate having a chat to you today. It's been really cool.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk bikes. It was nice to meet you, and hopefully I can make it down there sometime and do some writing.
Oh, for sure.
It's on my bucket list.
Come down under and we'll take you gravel riding for sure.
I would love that.
We've got one trail which is about 100k long, not quite Dirty Kansas, but it's 100k and you'll never get off it. It's just one trail.
That's about as much as I would want to do anyway.
That's about 60 miles, so it's not short.
I can handle that. It's better than 200.
Cool, man. All right. Well, thanks very much, Mehdi.
Sure. Cheers.
Cheers, man.